6 million families opened this account in its first week. The government says this account could be worth $303,800 by your child's 18th birthday. We checked. The number is real. But they left out three things. Adjust for inflation, and it's worth about $213,000 in today's money. Take out the taxes owed when your child withdraws it, and it's closer to $182,000. And to get there at all, you have to pour in $107,000 of your own money into an account that loses to a plain $529 by up to $20,000. That's the mistake the families who maxed it out are making. But the families who refused to open the account at all made the opposite one. They walked past $1,000 of free money that, left alone until retirement, becomes roughly $100,000. Both groups are certain the other one is foolish. The math says they're both right. Don't put a single dollar of your own money into this account until you've seen why. Let's start with what the account is, because it launched 3 days ago and most of what's being said about it is wrong in one direction or the other. A Trump account is, in plain terms, a retirement account for a child. The government created it under the 2025 tax law. Any child who is a United States citizen with a Social Security number can have one. And for children born between 2025 and 2028, the Treasury deposits $1,000 into the account to start it. That $1,000 is free. It is the single most important feature of this account, and we will come back to it more than once. After the seed, the account can receive up to $5,000 a year. Of that $5,000, an employer can contribute up to $2,500, and it isn't counted as taxable income to the parent. The rest comes from family. The money can only be invested in a low-cost fund that tracks the American stock market, an S&P 500 index fund, or something close to it, with fees capped at 0.1%. So far, this sounds excellent. A low-fee index fund, seeded with free government money, compounding for 18 years. Here's the catch. The money is locked until the child turns 18. At 18, the account converts into a traditional individual retirement account, an IRA, and from that point it follows IRA rules. That one sentence is where the trouble begins, because an IRA has a very specific tax structure, and this account inherits all of it, including the parts that work against you. Here is the idea the entire decision turns on, and almost no one is saying it out loud. This account is not one thing, it is two different things wearing the same name. Bucket 1 is other people's money, the $1,000 government seed, the employer's $2,500 a year, deposits from charities and foundations, and there are many because more than 50 companies and several billionaires have pledged to fund these accounts. This is money that arrives at no cost to your family. Bucket 2 is your own money. The dollars you personally contribute, up to the annual limit, after the employer and seed are counted. These two buckets sit in the same account and follow the same investment rules. But they are not the same decision. Claiming Bucket 1 is almost always correct. It is free money that compounds for 18 years and beyond. Filling Bucket 2 is frequently a mistake. The reason is tax, and we will prove it 3 separate ways. The families getting this wrong are the ones who treat the whole account as a single yes or no. They say yes to everything and overfund it, or they say no to everything and forfeit the free part. The correct answer isn't yes or no, it's yes to Bucket 1 and it depends for Bucket 2. Keep those two buckets separate in your head for the rest of this video because everything comes back to them. Connor opened the account the day it launched. He read the government's projection, $300,000 by 18, and decided he would max it out. $5,000 a year, every year, no matter what. To Connor, anyone who skips this is leaving a fortune on the table for their kid. Wesley refused to open one at all. He didn't trust an account named after a politician, and he'd heard the tax treatment was poor. To Wesley, the whole thing is a gimmick, and the people rushing to sign up are being sold something. 2 fathers, same week, opposite instincts. And here is the part that should bother both of them. Neither one ran the numbers. Connor trusted the headline. Wesley trusted his gut. Over the next few minutes, we're going to do what neither of them did. And by the end, you'll see that they made the same size of mistake, just pointed in opposite directions. Start with Connor. And the number that convinced him, $303,800 by age 18. We ran it, and this is important, the number is real. It is not fantasy math. To reach it, the government assumed the stock market returns 10.3% a year, which is roughly what the American market has actually averaged over its history, with dividends reinvested. So we are not going to tell you the government lied. We are going to tell you what the number quietly leaves out. Three things. First, inflation. $300,000 18 years from now does not buy what $300,000 buys today. Adjust for it, and the real value is about $213,000 in today's money. Second, tax. When the child withdraws that money, the growth is taxed as ordinary income. And after that tax, the spendable figure falls to somewhere around $182,000 in today's dollars. Third, and this is the one Connor never registered. To reach that headline at all, he has to contribute more than $100,000 of his own money over 18 years. $107,000 to be precise, once you account for the rising contribution the projection assumes. So the real question was never whether the account grows. It does. The question is whether $107,000 of Connor's own money does better here than it would somewhere else. That's a comparison. And a comparison has an answer. In fact, it has three of them. To understand why bucket 2 underperforms, you need one rule and then one nasty wrinkle on top of it. The rule: when money leaves this account, the part that came from your own contributions comes back to you tax-free. That's your basis, money you already paid tax on, but the growth on it is taxed as ordinary income. The seed and the employer's money are taxed as ordinary income too. Ordinary income is the highest kind of tax there is. It's the rate on a paycheck. Compare that to a normal brokerage account, where long-term growth is taxed at the capital gains rate, a lower rate designed precisely to reward long-term investing. Same investment, same S&P 500. But this account converts what would have been low-taxed capital gains into high-taxed ordinary income. Now, the wrinkle. You might think the child is 18, they have little income, so they'll be in a low tax bracket when they withdraw. Reasonable guess and wrong because of something called the kiddie tax. When a young dependent pulls out a large amount of investment income, the tax code doesn't let them use their own low rate on the whole thing. Above a small threshold, that income is taxed at the parent's rate. So the withdrawal Connor imagined would be lightly taxed can actually be taxed at his rate, not his daughter's. That single rule widens every gap we're about to show you. Hold that thought. Connor's daughter, like most children, will probably need money for one thing before anything else: college. So compare the account against the tool built for exactly that, the 529 education plan. Put the same contributions into both. In a 529, if the money is used for education, the growth comes out completely tax-free. In the Trump account, that same growth is taxed as ordinary income. Run identical dollars over 18 years, and the 529 comes out ahead, by somewhere between $6,000 and $20,000 depending on the family's tax bracket. And remember that kiddie tax wrinkle. If the withdrawal is taxed at Connor's rate instead of his daughter's, that gap doesn't stay at $20,000. It widens to somewhere between $23,000 and $31,000. Higher earners lose the most because their ordinary income rate is highest. There's a second edge to the 529 that has nothing to do with the withdrawal. Many states give you a tax deduction on your state return for money you put into their 529 plan. The Trump account offers nothing comparable, so in many states the 529 is winning twice, once going in, through the state deduction, and once coming out through the tax-free withdrawal. There is no scenario in this comparison where the Trump account wins for education. It is beaten by a tool that already existed, for the exact goal most parents are saving toward. That is Connor's quiet mistake. And depending on where he lives and how he's taxed, it's a good deal larger than the $20,000 we put in the headline. Maybe college isn't the goal. Maybe Connor wants flexible money his daughter can use for anything. The honest answer here is more nuanced, and we're going to give you the honest answer, not the convenient one. if the money is eventually used for a qualified purpose, like education or a first home. The Trump account and an ordinary brokerage account come out roughly even, within a few $1,000s either way. It's close to a wash. But if the money is used for anything else, the Trump account is hit with a 10% penalty on the growth on top of the ordinary income tax. Because before age 59 and a half, that's how IRA money works. In that case, the plain brokerage account wins clearly, by $9,000 to $13,000. So against a brokerage account, the Trump account's best case is a tie, and its worst case is a meaningful loss. A tie is not a reason to lock your money up for 18 years and convert its tax treatment to the worst kind. Flexibility itself has value. The ability to reach your money if life demands it. This account removes that and asks for nothing better than a tie in return. There's one more for the family whose real goal is the child's long-term future. Retirement itself. If the child has any earned income, even from a summer job scooping ice cream, they can have a custodial Roth IRA. In a Roth, the growth is never taxed. Not at 18, not at 60. Tax-free, permanently. The Trump account taxes that same growth as ordinary income. For the long-horizon, retirement-shaped goal that this account is supposedly designed for, a Roth simply does the same job without the tax. The account is beaten again, this time by the very category of account it most resembles. 3 comparisons, 3 defeats for bucket 2. Education, lose to the 529. Flexibility, tie a brokerage at best, lose at worst. Retirement, lose to a Roth. This is why the rule is, don't put your own money here. But, and this matters if we're being honest, there is exactly one family for whom that rule flips. Let's deal with them, because it might be you. Picture a different family. They've already put the maximum into a 529 for college. They've already funded a Roth for the child. They've maxed their own retirement accounts and their health savings account. Every tax advantage container they have access to is already full, and they still have money left over they want to invest for their child. For that family, the only remaining alternative is a plain taxable brokerage account. And against that alternative, the Trump account can actually win. Here's why. If that family leaves the money completely alone, no withdrawals until the child is 59 and a half, so no penalty ever applies, then decades of tax-deferred compounding, where dividends are never taxed year to year, can pull ahead of a taxable account that gets nicked every single year. Run it all the way to age 60, and the Trump account can come out ahead of the brokerage by a couple $100,000. That is a real edge, but look closely at everything it required. Every other account already maxed, the money genuinely never touched for 4 decades. 2 conditions almost no family actually meets. So the rule survives with one honest footnote. If you are that rare family, everything else full and this money is untouchable until retirement, bucket 2 is defensible. For everyone else, which is almost everyone, it isn't. We won't pretend the edge case doesn't exist. We'll just tell you how narrow it is. There's a risk in this account that has nothing to do with tax, and it's one Connor never thought about. At 18, the account becomes the child's, not the parent's, the child's. And an 18-year-old can do whatever they like with it, including emptying it entirely. Run that number. Say the account holds $187,000 at 18, and the young adult decides to cash it all out for something that doesn't qualify. A car, a trip, a business idea. The ordinary income tax plus the 10% early withdrawal penalty destroys about $31,000 of it on the way out. That's the tax cost of a single impulsive decision the parent no longer controls. A 529 stays in the parent's hands. A Trump account at 18 does not. For 18 years you build it. On one birthday, you hand over the keys. Which brings us back to Wesley, who heard all of that, the poor tax treatment, the 3 defeats, the 18-year-old problem, and felt completely vindicated. He was right about bucket 2. But he made the opposite error, and it cost him something real, because he threw out bucket 1 along with it. Because Wesley refused to open the account at all, he left the free money on the table. His daughter qualified for the $1,000 government seed. That $1,000 invested and left completely alone, no further contributions ever, grows to about $4,000 by 18. Left alone longer, all the way to retirement, it becomes roughly $100,000. From a single deposit that cost the family nothing. Now add the piece Wesley never even checked, his employer. Wesley's company was one of the more than 50 now offering to contribute to employees' children's accounts, up to $2,500 a year, money that isn't even taxed to him going in. Watch what that free bucket alone becomes. After 1 year, about $3,800. After 5 years, more than $17,000. After 10 years, over $40,000. By 18, the seed and the employer money together are worth about $105,000. And even after the tax on the way out, more than $80,000 of that is spendable. Every cent of it free. Wesley walked past all of it on principle. Wesley judged the account by its worst feature and threw away its best one. Connor judged it by its best feature and overpaid for its worst one. Same account. Opposite mistakes. And here's the thing. Connor's mistake and Wesley's mistake are almost exactly the same size. One overpaid by roughly $20,000. The other refused roughly $80,000 in free money. Neither of them ran the numbers. Maybe you're watching this and you've already done what Connor did. You've been funding this account for a while. Don't panic and don't rush to yank the money out, because that triggers exactly the tax and penalty we've been describing. There's a smarter move, and it's worth knowing. When the child turns 18 and the account becomes an IRA, there's a window. If the child has little or no income that year, which most 18-year-olds do, you can convert the account into a Roth IRA and pay the ordinary income tax on the growth at the child's very low rate, sometimes close to zero. After that conversion, the money is in a Roth, where it grows tax-free forever and comes out tax-free in retirement. The difference is enormous. Take $50,000 of trapped growth, convert it to a Roth at 18, pay a small tax now, and let it grow to age 60, and it becomes about $1.14 million, tax-free. Leave that same $50,000 sitting in the Trump account, growing until 60 and taxed as ordinary income on the way out, and it's worth about $988,000. The conversion is worth roughly $150,000. So if your money is already in this account, the play isn't to withdraw it. It's to convert it at the right moment. Money already trapped can still be rescued. So here is what both fathers should have done. The same thing despite starting from opposite convictions. Open the account. It costs nothing to open. Claim the $1,000 seed. Then chase the employer contribution, because that is the single most overlooked source of free money here. Ask your employer, in plain words, whether they contribute to employees' children's Trump accounts. Dozens of large companies already do, and more are adding it as a benefit every month. If yours does, turn it on. $2,500 free dollars a year, even taxed later, beats zero every single time. Harvest every dollar of other people's money the account will give you. That is bucket one, and it is as close to a free lunch as personal finance offers. Then stop. Don't add your own money on top. Send your own dollars where they're actually treated better. The 529 if the goal is college, a Roth if the child has earned income, a plain brokerage account if you want flexibility. And if you've already overfunded the account, remember the conversion move. At 18, roll it into a Roth while the tax cost is lowest. The account isn't a scam, and it isn't a miracle. It's a container that's excellent for money you didn't earn and poor for money you did. Judge each dollar by where it came from, not the account by its name. Your numbers are not Connor's or Wesley's. Your tax bracket, your child's birth year, whether your employer contributes, what you think the market will do, every one of those changes the answer, and some of them change it enough to flip the decision entirely. So we built the tool that runs it for you. Put in your own figures, and it shows you what the Trump account actually returns against a 529 and a brokerage account, side by side, after tax, so you can see exactly where your own money belongs, and whether you're one of the rare families for whom Bucket 2 makes sense. It's one of the tools in the Wealth Logician's vault, alongside everything else we've built for decisions like this one. If you want to run your own version of the math in this video before you commit a single dollar, that's where to do it. The link is below. 6 million families opened this account. The ones who came out ahead weren't the believers or the skeptics. They were the ones who understood it was 2 accounts in one and only funded the half worth funding. Take the free money, keep your own. That's the whole video.